Hi, my name is Kevin Thomas, W1DED. Today I have with me Jay Chamberlain, NS4J. Jay is a retired FBI agent and currently very involved with portable operations in general, but specifically the U.S. Islands program, which is why I asked him to join me today. Love to hear more about that. Welcome, Jay.
Yeah, good morning, Kevin.
And I think you're located in Virginia.
Yeah, Fredericksburg, Virginia, pretty much halfway between DC and Richmond.
So before we get into ham radio, I am curious about your FBI background. What was that experience like, and how many years were you in the FBI?
Well, I went right into the U.S. Coast Guard after high school and got trained as a communications and crypto tech. So this is where I got my introduction to radio. I came out of the Coast Guard in '74, and within 6 months, the Bureau hired me as a radio maintenance technician. And so that also started my 9.5 year adventure of getting an electrical engineering degree part time while working full time. So I did the radio tech and then engineering work for the Bureau for 10 years. And once I finished my double E, went the route and applied and became a special agent. So I did 20 years as a special agent for a total of 30.
So it sounds like the ham radio was a parallel path. You were doing ham radio this entire time.
Yeah, I finally got my license in '92. Exposed to multiple guys on the radio side, and stayed connected with them once I became an agent and moved back to a Washington D.C. area.
So one of the things I noticed about your Curious Ed page, it sounds like you've been limited to an attic dipole or an attic antenna for a long time, and I'm guessing that's what probably led you or steered you toward portable operations.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was only just 2 years ago when my maple trees got large enough, tall enough that I could put an end-fed wire in the trees. So that was about 2 years ago. So yeah, that really was the catalyst. It just sounded interesting. I can remember either a CQ magazine or QST magazine article on the U.S. Islands program, and I said, "Well, that sounds like a lot of fun." I had been, you may know the term rock bound, with a '60s 50-watt crystal controlled transmitter and a Drake R7 receiver until I got my CW up enough to be able to pass my general. So and once I got my general, saw that article, I bought a Kenwood TS50, which of course is one of the original small 100-watt radios.
So let's get into U.S. Islands. Tell us, just summarize what the U.S. Islands program is.
Well, it's an awards program that started about 1994. At the time, NL7TB, John Rensenauer, he had been working and chasing a lot of IOTAs, Island on the Airs, which of course most people know that's the international British program, and they're limited to just ocean islands around the world. I say limited, but and they'd been around quite a while. Well, I believe at the time he was living in Alaska, and had access to islands that were not part of IOTA. And of course, not many of us can drop $10, $20, $30,000 to go on some de-expedition to a remote island. So he just decided to start U.S. Islands, the U.S. Islands Awards program, and include lake islands, river islands, and then also shore islands. So yeah, there's quite a few of the islands that are have both the IOTA designation and the USI designation, but he just felt that a guy living in Iowa or Florida, or here in Virginia on a river, needed needed access to a program that they could also do the islands.
So that must be thousands of islands. I'm just thinking about here in Maine, and I don't think we're that unique, but well, maybe we are when it comes to islands. But there are a number of islands that dot the coast. I'm not that far from Portland. The myth is that there are 365 what they call the calendar islands here. I think that myth has been proven wrong. But the point is, there are hundreds just in my backyard. So it's got to be tens of thousands across the country.
Oh yes, I should have looked on the website just to see what's on our directory. But John started out, with uh, at a minimum of 5 in some states, and then like in Florida, 100 or more um, when he built the original directory. And I should have looked to see what the number is now, but we are continually adding islands also. Um, many of them, may not even have a name, but if they fit the criteria, which is 100 feet in any dimension and a 50-foot separation from land, and it shows up on a map, then you can ask USI to add it to the directory.
I did notice that if it's connected by via bridge or causeway, it still qualifies.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we do have a causeway rule, and a bridge, of course, and some of them even just a spit of land that goes out there that may or may not be there, like in high tide or low tide. So
So, Jay, do you have a sense of how many people are participating in the program in a given year?
this is our 29th year. So next year we're going to have been around 30 years. I think it's much like the sunspot cycles. Early on, in the late 90s, when I first started in 96, I do believe that it would we were at a peak. There was a lot of guys out there. Now, we can't compete can't compete with POTA and that popularity. Um, but there's still a core group of guys doing the portable and chasing the islands. Like I said, for me, the attic dipole, and then working in Washington D.C., and there are 3 or 4 islands up there right on the Potomac that you drive on and set up. And so uh, my first activation in May of '96, I made 133 QSOs and worked 5 DX countries I never even heard from home. So I was pretty much hooked, and that was with a homemade ground-mounted vertical and 100-watt, the TS50. So it really is hard to say how many. We have of course the web page. We have a Facebook group. Um, um, we have an email, to keep people connected. So I really can't say.
There are activators and there are hunters, not unlike Parks on the Air. So if I wanted to be home working these stations, is there a specific frequency that I would go to?
Well, historically, the IOTA, the Islands on the Air group, the international group, like on 20 meters, they talk about being 14,260 is the island, kind of the island frequency. And historically, we've always said that the island corridor is 14,250 to 14,260. And same with 40 meters, 14,250 to 260.
And what about from an activation standpoint? I know there's a qualifying process for those first time activators on an island. What does that look like?
Early on, they decided to try to differentiate a designation between an island that has had an operation and an island that hasn't. So if you look at our directory, you'll see you may see Virginia 100 with no letter after it. So those letters are R for River Island, S for Sierra for shore or Sea Island, and then L for Lake. And so early on, the qualifying efforts were 25 QSOs for a first-time activation. A little confusing. We call that a qualification. So you would set up, get your 25 QSOs, and then you could pretty much say, okay, if it's a lake island, then you could. What we had done is say, give out the island name, give out like Virginia New until you get your 25 QSOs, and then you could add the letter designation in to show that it's been officially qualified.
The logging process, Jay?
Actually, USI has always been on the honor system. So, having been around 29 years, we are definitely not as high tech as POTA and that group. And so USI accepts pretty much any kind of form of QSL. And even on the honor system, if the operator says it's 50 feet separation, and we're not out there, with a tape measure measuring the size of that island. And I've been on some pretty small ones, so it's pretty much all on the honor system. We do have forms on our website. So if you do a qualification effort, you're not telling me you did 48 QSOs. You're just telling me you met the threshold. In 2019, which was our 25th anniversary, we were hoping to get some more of the clubs out there and to activate islands. So we actually set up a silver award for clubs that actually operated from 25 islands. So pretty big effort for a single year, and we lowered the qualification efforts more in line with national parks on the air and parks on the air. We lowered it to 15 QSOs.
Unless you're lucky enough to have a bridge or a causeway, you're getting to an island via boat, some sort of boat, right? A kayak, a canoe. Can you activate offshore, or do you need to be on island?
Yeah, that's the other big difference between POTA and USI is that some part of your station has to be on the island. So antenna, generator, battery, ground radials. The boat could be up on the shore, but unlike POTA, which you just have to be inside your boundary, which may or may not, because some of these places you're within the boundary, but they don't allow you to be on the shore because it's a bird sanctuary or whatever. So that's probably the biggest difference. Is yes, some part of your station has to be on shore.
I was also intrigued to notice that you have 2 events during the year, one of them a contest. Tell me about those.
Historically, we've always tried to hook up with our Canadian brothers, island chasers and activators. And so the last Saturday in August is the W/VE Island QSO party. So it's basically USI and the Canadian group. That we have a short QSO party, 15 hours, 0800 Zulu on that Saturday to like 0300 the next Sunday morning, which is basically close to midnight, 11 o'clock. And it's just like any QSO party. We're trying to get guys out there, to activate, and then guys are going to be home chasing.
And you have a number of categories for awards with that contest.
Yeah, it's a single transmitter, single call sign. You can do it as a group, and take turns. Yes, we have expedition. Take your kit field day style out to an island and set up. You can live on an island and operate from home. That's one. You can be a rover, something I've done quite a few times. Up on the Potomac, the upper Potomac above DC, lots of islands. And I have a great radio friend, Bob KF4BAN, that at one time had a boat and I had the engine. So we would meet up there for the day and, rove between 2 islands or 3 islands, whatever we could. and have a lot of fun like that. And then there's a category for guys at home too, just working just the island.
And Jay, tell me about the awards program. How does that work?
There's a bunch of different ones that we've had historically. Historically, the honor roll is a threshold of 100 islands. For DX, it's 50. The threshold for the honor roll is 50, and then it just goes up, at different levels. There's club awards. You can get an award for working different clubs or special events. There are there's an award for your first qualifier. This one we try to send out if I come across somebody that's a first-time activator, first-time qualifier. We call it the First Q Award. Now, again, we don't match POTA when it comes to the number of awards. But they're on the website there, and guys can work towards that. And again, it's the honor system. So if you send me, as the award manager, if you send me an Excel sheet with 104 islands, and I do a little research on them, then you meet that threshold for that award.
Why don't you give us the URL for people that do want to go to the website? What is that?
Just usislands.org. And so all the information's there, the directory linked with states and maps. A few years ago, we also decided to not only have all 50 states in DC, but we decided to add the territories. So you have, some of the Pacific some of the Pacific islands and the islands in the Caribbean that are also part of our program.
Well, Jay, I appreciate you taking time today to explain this. It sounds like a lot of fun. I think I live on an island that has already been qualified, so I'm kind of in the midst of it. But I appreciate getting all this information. I appreciate all of your volunteer time. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, yeah. Well, I certainly appreciate it. I've tried real hard with the increase in portable operators with POTA. That has just grown exponentially with guys getting out and activating parks. And I've actually built an Excel cross-reference sheet, which has a couple of thousand islands that are referred to either on a park or part of a park, or one of the historic trails, like Lewis and Clark. I think there's so many new islands that are part of that trail that could be added too. So I'm really trying to ride POTA's coattails a little bit when it comes to introducing all these new operators to the adventure of portable operations.
Well, I appreciate your efforts in doing so.
And I hope to see you on a contest from home there as a fixed station.
I wish I could. I think the next contest is late August, right?
Yeah, last Saturday in August.
Yeah, yep. Unfortunately, I will not be in town, but I'll definitely put it on my calendar next year for sure.
That sounds good, Kevin. Appreciate it.